back to the channel. I've posted a video on 5 things I do like about the Audi S3. I've posted a video on 5 things I don't like about the Audi S3, and in this video I'm going to talk about why I bought the Audi S3 over the Golf R and some of the other competitors like the Focus RS, like the AMG A45. I didn't really consider the WRX or an Evo, to be honest. I think they are in desperate needs of updating. I think the Evo will be finished soon, or if not already. The WRX, I honestly didn't even consider. It just wasn't where I felt it needed to be. Probably the most serious competitors were the Golf R and the A45. Now, I fully get that the A45 is, some might argue, a class up. I'm not really of that opinion. Yes, I know it's got a lot more power, or significantly more power, particularly than the detuned Australian S3. But the cabin is disappointing. Certainly for the price point, it's dearer than the S3. It's close to 100,000. I don't feel like the quality's there in the cabin. I think it's only as good as the S3. I would even argue the S3, like with the Napa leather, is probably better. But I ruled out the A45 because it's a lot more expensive, and I just don't feel like you get that much more of a car. And also the servicing costs, which I talked about in one of my other videos, they're already quite high in the Audi, but they're even higher in the AMG. So for me, the AMG just didn't really tick enough of the boxes at the price point. I think if I was going to spend 100,000, I would probably be looking to increase that budget a little bit more and get a different type of performance car. The Focus RS, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate in this video because of this. I just think the cabin is beyond disappointing. I spent a lot of time in my car, and a good cabin is really important to me. So for me, the Focus RS, very disappointing inside. I am fully aware the all-wheel drive system in the Focus RS far better than that in the S3. There is no competition whatsoever. And I guess if someone said to me, you've got a wet skid pad and you can play with the car for a couple of hours, I would take the Focus RS. But unfortunately, 99% of the driving that we do on the road is getting from A to B, and I find the S3 better by almost any measure than the Focus RS on the road. That's not to say I don't like the Focus RS. For me, it just didn't make any sense. They're not even any faster with the dual clutch transmissions. The Golf R's and the S3s are actually faster than the Focus RS. So I think that it'd be very disappointing for me as a Focus RS owner to be beat by a Golf R. But that's just my opinion. As I said, all-wheel drive system exceptionally good in the RS, and I would fully understand someone deciding to buy one over an R or an S3. And that brings me to the Golf R. So the Golf R was probably the one I looked at most, and in fact I initially had intended to buy the Golf R. I still believe the Golf R is the best when value is considered. So I think if you look at the dollars that you spend and what you get for those dollars, I think you can't beat the Golf R. I had already owned a Mark 7 Golf, TDI 110 Highline. I sat in the Golf R, and honestly, to me, it was exactly the same. A bit more bolstering in the seat, some blue needles, and that was really it. Obviously, it had a lot more performance, but The Golf R is really nice inside if you haven't owned a Golf before, and it's probably at a good enough level. But for me, I was sold on the Audi interior. Again, I really believe the Golf R is better value. Money no object, S3, but the S3 it's considerably more expensive, and you get 90% of the car for what, 70% of the money in the Golf. So to those that haven't made a decision, Golf R is probably the wisest decision. It's got, I mean, I think it even performs a little bit better because it's a little bit lighter than the S3, but it's got more or less the same hardware on board. So it's the same engine, same gearbox, and same Haldex all-wheel drive system, which is a very disappointing all-wheel drive system. But if you want to know why, watch my 5 things I don't like about my Audi S3 video. But that left me with the Audi S3. I bought this and I've been exceptionally happy with it. There are a few things I don't like about it. The big one's the all-wheel drive system. It is, you know, I would really have liked a proper all-wheel drive system in it. I understand why Audi used the Haldex system. It's not necessarily to do with cost saving like some people have suggested. It's more to do with the Haldex system offers better fuel economy because you're only powering 2 wheels instead of 4 for almost all of the time. Gives you a better turning circle than a full-time all-wheel drive system, and because there's less mechanical resistance, it actually delivers more power to the front wheels than a full-time system. But there are some pretty big drawbacks of the system, and it's quite easy to exploit the system and push it well beyond its limits. And when it is beyond its limits, it does some rather odd things and performs not like an all-wheel drive system really should. Other than that, I can't fault this car. I will probably buy an RS3 next, and that's mainly to do with the engine sound. I don't really like the engine sound of the S3, but all the A45, or in fact any of the 4-cylinder hot hatches out there. So an RS3 is next, and when I get the RS3, I'll be buying the updated one, which isn't out for a little while yet, but when it does come out, I will be sure to buy one. I'll post up a video and I'll let you guys know what I think. But in the meantime, if you've got any comments, questions, anything you'd like to suggest or recommend for future videos, please leave a comment and I'll try and respond to you when I can. But thanks for watching today, and take care.